baby, real talk.
What's it like to be a drug dealer, Jay? Can I ask that again? What's it like to be a drug dealer, Jay?
I don't know. What's it like being a drug customer? Brian.
I knew on the drive here, I was going fuck, I know he's going to say that. Good. Thank
Is
you.
it?
Yeah,
Good.
Good.
Would
And
you-
this whole line, do you want to hear my line? You're going to meet someone and
Yep.
you're rehearsing everything you're going to say to them.
No, I'm not as socially anxious as you are, but yeah, go
Bullshit.
ahead. Yeah, I'll play along. I'll yes and you.
Can I tell you this? I'll tell you the script. I'm only embarrassing myself. Fuck,
Yeah.
I'm sorry about that. Crackling. So I was like, okay, I'm going to ask Jay about drug dealing. He's going and he's going to say, what's it like to be on the other end of it? and I'm going to say, I was a drug dealer too.
Well,
It takes two to make a deal.
yeah. Okay.
I was just on the other side of it.
Yeah,
So
sure,
we're both
yeah.
in the deal.
Yeah. I'm with you on it, but it's really like vendor and
Vending.
yeah, yeah,
machine.
vendy.
Yeah, when you say vending machine, you make me think of you ever hear about in Japan you can buy women's underwear from a vending machine?
Oh, I don't. Is that like an internet urban legend or is that legit?
Jamie, can you?
All right. Sorry. Yes. Yeah. Women's underwear vending machine. Go ahead.
I don't know, man, but it's fun. It sounds great. I hope that's true. Could it possibly be that popular?
Hey, OnlyFans.
As an example, how that.
There's
Yeah,
feet
okay.
only OnlyFans that are like $10,000 a month. So
Holy shit! Shut this off.
yeah,
Real talk. No, only feet.
yeah. There's not
Real-
even good stuff, and I'm
real-
like, okay, but whatever. Allegedly.
So what's it like?
Oh, I mean, it was only like a 12 to 18-month period, but it was cool because it wasn't drug dealing an episode of The Wire or it wasn't seedy. It was really just rich assholes in the Melbourne hospitality scene and I basically worked in that industry, worked at a hotel and got good at selling. I was just a natural salesman and just discovered that I could do that with drugs.
Doesn't Coke sell itself?
I mean, yeah, but only to Coke fiends.
Yeah, but once you pop, you can't stop. So you got to get them over the line. Do you ever sell to a first-time user? By the
think
way,
so, yeah.
we are promoting drugs on this podcast.
Drugs are fun.
Drugs are so fun. They sell themselves.
Yeah.
So, you ever... Don't do it. Don't. You ever do it?
All right, well, look, I mean, really, the way that I got into the actual, illicit side of it was I was working in a hotel, it was a cafe, restaurant, and hotel in the Melbourne CBD, and it was a decent place.
Uh-huh.
And I was a teenager, and I was working there, waiter basically, and the tip culture's not a massive thing in Australia, but it exists. And really, one day I got approached by this guy because I was basically half asleep on my job.
How do you sleep at a cafe, working in a cafe?
Well, it was a restaurant, so they did the breakfast. I used to do the breakfast shift where I'd start at 5 a.m., work for 4 hours, go home and sleep, and then come back and do the dinner shift. And because it was a hotel restaurant, I would see the guests staying for breakfast, and then they'd either go to work or whatever they were doing, and then I'd see them for dinner. So I would see the same people pretty consistently, and I was really only looking after the in-house guests. I wasn't dealing with people coming in from the street. You'd have a few dinner reservations, but it was hotel guests. And so this one guy, and I'm 17 at the time, and this one guy comes up to me, and basically I'm fried. I basically look stoned, and he comes up, and he's on a work conference thing, and so he's from out of town. And he comes up and he's like, oh, hey, man, you seem like a pretty chill dude. And I'm like, thanks, dude, I guess. And he's like, hey, can you get me any green? And I'm like, what? And he's like, can you get me any Mary Jane? And I'm like, fucking, huh? And he's like, weed, dude. You got any weed? And I'm like, oh, nah, man, like, not my thing. And he gets all, like, nervous because he's, like, technically at work. And I'm like, so am I. I don't, I'm not freaking out. But so then basically he's like, oh, shit. I'm like, no, dude, it's chill, relax, no worries. I just can't help you, sorry. And then, like, he's like, oh, cool, thanks, yeah, don't mention it. I immediately, like, run up to my manager, and I'm like, that guy just asked me for weed.
Fuck you, you
right?
fucking asshole.
I'm 17, right? And now, my manager is, like, this dude. He's, like, late 30s, maybe pushing 40. I go, oh, that guy just asked me for weed. And my manager turns around, and he's like, what'd you tell him? I'm like, oh, not my thing. I'm not, like, I don't partake, but, like, you know, that was it. And he's like, oh, okay, cool. Well, for, like, weed and ecstasy, you want to go, I won't say his name, at this guy. If you need, like, coke and, you know, like, maybe mushrooms or something like that, I can usually help you out. And he basically just, like, laid out the infrastructure of the drug dealing scene in the restaurant. And I'm like, for real? And he's like, yeah, man. He's like, how much do you get paid an hour? And I'm like, oh. And he goes, I'll tell you, it's fuck all. And it's like, you see the two blonde sisters that are gorgeous, they make 7 times their pay in tips because they're hot. Us dudes, we're slinging drugs. Like, that's how this economy works. You're not going to make real money off working as a waiter in, like, Melbourne CBD. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. So really, he just, like, laid out to me who was selling what and what the deal was. And then, like, because I'm dealing with the in-house guests and I've got, like, the registry and stuff, because a lot of them have, like, included packages, you know, for breakfast and dinner and all this sort of stuff. I've got, like, their customer profile, like, printed out to cross them off. And so I can see basic information about them. And pretty quickly, I just start being able to find customers. Like, it's like people fit into a cliche, and I'm like, that guy's going to want some weed. Because I would see them, like, do the check-in, meet them at the first breakfast, just get a vibe of what they're going to be after. I know that they're there for, like, 6 days. They'll work for the first 4 or 5 days, but by that, they're bored and, you know, pretty over it. Or they're going to then, like, go out for the last 2 nights before heading home. So it's like, have a blowout. So I'd, like, feel them out for the first couple of days, and then just find a way to approach him, you know? Like, if it was 5 business bros that kind of all look the same, wearing, like, the same brand and shit.
Yeah.
And they worked in, like...
Getting some poppers?
Yeah, finance or
Jungle
some shit
shoes?
like that. Or, yeah, like, I'd, like, go up to them and be like, hey, so you guys heading out tonight? And they'd be like, yeah, like, after work. I'm like, cool, well, if you need anything, wink, wink, let me know. We can sort it. And, you know, when the restaurant opens for evening...
Do you ever sell any food or a cappuccino?
Just order it. I'm telling you this while I'm taking your order. And so, you know, like, I was able to, like, zone in, and basically they would just give me their order. Like, that, oh, can you do this? Can you do that? Like, whatever. And I'm like, yeah, man, no worries. And they tell me that at breakfast on, like, Thursday, right? And then I'd go sort out through, like, the guy that sells this and the guy that sells that, like the guy that makes the coffees.
Cut them out.
No,
The story's going to where you cut them out, right?
No, yeah, sort of.
If you have, then you go back there. Can we go back there? Because
Okay, yeah. So where are we up to?
So you now you were taking orders.
Yeah.
For different types. So pills, weed,
I'm a broker, basically.
mushroom, coke.
So I'm not really I'm not buying a brick and, like, cutting it up myself or anything like that. Or, like, I'm not, like, weighing out, you know.
So when the cops come,
I basically never touched anything.
Clean.
Yeah, right.
Just get it. Watch out if your notepad, that notepad that you're writing down, cappuccino, lobster, couple of bickies.
Visual memory.
Not for eating.
Visual memory. I wouldn't write them down. I would just, like, basically picture, like, them and, like, basically just put like icons, like cartoon icons in my mind over like what they wanted.
That's a real memory trick.
Yeah,
You picture the different drugs on their face.
no, you know, almost like a video game where they've got like their health bar above their head or whatever. It would be like, instead of having like, you know, 3 hearts for like their hit points, so it would just be like a bag of Coke, you know, a bag of pills, and you know, like, you know, a cue of weed or something like that, just like above their head, and I would just like sort of imagine what it looked like in real life, and then just assign that visually to like what they wanted.
Okay, I want to cut straight to a nasty question, because I'm a nasty boy, and I'm fascinated. Is there anything you wouldn't sell? Basically, the yuck drugs like meth and smack.
See, that's the thing. Like, I guess didn't really. It's not like they were always on offer, and there was like inquiries and stuff, but those deals never really went through because, like I said, it was just very like, it was almost just a hobby. Like, it was just fun. Like, it was goal orientation. Basically, my boss was like, hey, instead I'm a waiter, right? And so like before every service, we're given like our specials, and the chef like runs down our specials of like what we have to push at the tables.
Lobster, smack.
Right, exactly.
Crack.
So I took the exact same thing of like because I was good at that. Like, you know, I'd listen to it, and then I'd like know the pitch, and I'd be able to pick like, you know, you look at somebody, you know, like they're going to be a fussy eater. They're going to want like the sausages and mashed potato, and they're going to ask to not have like the horseradish and the potato because, you know, that's too fucking fancy for them. So
They'll
you
have
don't even
the cocaine.
Yeah, so you don't even pitch that to them, right? So you just like, so then I just took that same skill set, because now he's like, okay, well, we've got weed, we've got coke, we've got, you know, ecstasy, and we got mushrooms and stuff. And so I was like, okay, you just go to a table, you sort of suss out who you think is going to like be keen, and you just sort of go, do you mind if I pitch you the specials? And you, in that same way, like, you know, I would just go, well, hey, do you want a bag of weed? Do you want a gram of coke? Like,
That's cool, man.
What do you kind of want?
This buying drugs sucks, man. It's so inconvenient. What about the quality? You know, like, you always like, especially with pills.
Yeah.
Like, this is an educational show teaching you how to do drugs before you get them. So to come here, we'll tell you how to buy them, take them, then you go and do it, kids. All right. So you get pills, and then half the time they're shit.
Yeah.
And like, worse, you tell them to go for someone else, and then they come back to you. They want to beat you up. How'd you deal with that?
Again, so basically the beauty of it was that I felt protected, because basically my bosses were involved. So like, if anyone got screwed over, or like they thought the pills were shit, they can't really arc up at me, because like I've got all their company records. Like, they're staying at the hotel, their business is paying for. Like, are they about to get into a fight with the waiter over, you know, low quality ecstasy?
You burn them. This sounds like an episode. Have you ever watched the IT Crowd?
No.
Oh,
I mean, I've seen clips, but yeah, I haven't. Yeah.
It's a show. People know
TJ
it.
Miller.
People, no, not even close.
No?
No. But,
That's the British
Is
one,
that
isn't
British?
it?
Is there a...
I'm thinking
is there-
Workaholics.
No, IT Crowd's that guy. Yeah, it's British. There's a dark-skinned guy with, you can say dark-skinned guy, and with a funny afro.
Yeah, yeah.
Then there's the funny
Iowati, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
That's what I'm picturing. So, like, okay, so the fancy guys, so they don't want to buy meth and heroin. You're dealing with maybe, like, you're dealing with guys that at their suits and ties. They want to just like sophisticated drugs.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's did you get chicks?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's basically why you want to get into it. But,
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's a deep story, but, like, not really, because, I mean, look, I can tell you, if you want to go into it, I can basically try to, like, speed run you through why I used to piss off a lot of the girls a lot. Like, I wasn't doing myself any
I think we
favours.
know. You've been on the podcast before.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Like, sorry, quickly on quality. When I used to get asked, so initially I didn't know, because I was too young and I wasn't like an enthusiast. I didn't partake. I was just goal orientated to sell. And And, so I'd get a hit up for the, the quality and stuff. And I'd sort of, give him political answers, not really sort of like commit to anything. But then later on, when we had just like a hookup of this like really clean stuff, this was like when I sort of found out where it was all coming from, and we were getting it off the brick. So this wasn't, this wasn't changing hands. This was coming straight out of...
No, you have to explain for me and everyone else, because when you say off the I've only bought cocaine in Perth.
Okay.
Perth cocaine sucks.
Australia cocaine sucks.
Okay, there you go.
We're the second most expensive and in the world, and the lowest quality.
What's the most expensive?
Japan.
Because because they're so strict with drugs.
Yeah, strict.
And they hate drugs too.
Strict drug policies, and also island nations. So, like, smuggling routes are, it's really just air and sea. So, you can't, in the US, you've got Mexico, Canada, you've got, road, air, and, sea freight and everything like that. So, Australia's, it's shitty because, like, it's really expensive, but smugglers don't really want to send it here because there's a good chance it'll get seized. And then so, like, what does get down here is, like, what does get through to us is, like, then has to go around to a lot of people.
I always had this
logistics.
fantasy of, like, I always wanted to be a drug dealer because I always
Yeah.
thought dealing drugs was cool.
Yeah.
I never got past being a drug addict.
Yeah.
And so I always had this fantasy of, like, if I was a drug dealer, I would chuck little, basically, water floating drones
Okay.
in the water.
Yeah.
Let them either drift around, that circle of that current of water that goes around Antarctica. What's that called?
Oh.
The Roaring Forties or something.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So you're in South America.
Mm.
Hey, we got to get these cocaine to Australia, and you just throw it in. Maybe even go the long way around because there's a current that goes around Antarctica. So you throw it in, it goes a long way round, but you got it on GPS, right? It's got a little motor on it, so you just steer it to like a little bit off Dongara, somewhere like that.
I mean, I guess so. Like, they've done weirder things, but...
The way you're acting this sounds like it's not a dumb idea.
Well, I mean, look, yeah, but it's about weight. Like, how much can you move on a little remote control? Like, what is it, one brick?
Oh, a
and like
lot.
that's, I mean, how big's your drone?
Yeah, we'll make a big one, man. Like, could get a couple of metal drums
Or like
together.
the Ukrainian fucking torpedoes
like
that they...
ocean's big.
Yeah.
Put it on a torpedo. Yeah. Poof. Then we could go the normal way, just like or fly it through the sky. But that's what
you think that it comes from South America, but like Australia, most of the Australian drugs don't, like, even coke.
Where does it come from?
Asia,
Oh, which part?
Vietnam, Laos.
I didn't think that they can grow it there.
Well, it comes through there, like, that's
Okay.
it's basically like, sort of where at least it's probably smuggled from
there's-
around there, but yeah, just geographically, it's basically comes down from what used to be sort of like the Silk Road, and then comes to Australia via
They're really
Southeast Asia.
dominating the drugs because they got the cocaine now. They got the heroin.
They got everything.
Famously.
Like, it's just, yeah.
I really fell in love with drugs when I watched those. You ever watch those old movies where they're in the jungle, like in the Vietnamese War, and all the soldiers are doing heroin? Fuck, it's so romantic. You think that's really, what, romantic in the, the way I use that word, romantic?
No, I get it, because it's like in the same way that, like, I'm a massive Anthony Bourdain fan, and like how he got into like cooking because he was a heroin addict, and like into punk music, and it was just like so punk rock to like work your ass off in a kitchen and then like finish your shift and then just go like do heroin and drink yourself into a stupor,
man.
and then like get up the next day feeling fucking awful, but then like still showing up to work and like smashing through that grind again. Like, it's objectively a shitty existence, but if you put it in a novel and like, or like film it in black and white with like the right sound score and a you know, gravelly voiced narrator, it sounds sexy as fuck.
Sexy as fuck. There's something about that, because that's not a new thing. We talk about older TV shows and older movies from the 60s, 70s, but before that, even in novels, people in England, like old England, would write about going off to China and becoming an opium addict, and they'd write a novel, and it was a romantic even that time, the fucking 15th century.
Yeah, like Lord Byron and
I don't know that. What's Lord Byron?
oh fuck, now you tested me. I only sound
You
smart
said it.
because yeah, not Lord Byron. Yeah, I mean, like there was writers and like
It was big,
interesting
man.
people that like Voltaire, and you know they have these escapades of like, I think Lord Byron was like a poet, but like he was an aristocrat and traveled around the world and was like drinking absinthe in like France, and you know having these like writing about the mistress of the, you know, and like the smell of the cigarette on her breath and everything as she undressed and all this, and it's like, you know, it's not pornographic, it is romantic, and like, but it's the articulation of the bit that wouldn't be the good bit. Like, who likes the smell of cigarette smoke on people? Like it's
Yeah.
it's not a pleasant smell, but when articulated by the poet talking about this French mistress he's got, it adds a level of depth and like romance to the description, right?
Yeah, you know that movie Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas? You've seen it? You've seen it?
Yeah.
Have you lived that
No.
life those guys do?
No.
Oh, okay.
So that's
but you kind of have, because you pointed out like what it feels like. Like, it feels very good to be high on the drugs, but there's lots. You point out, you said that like that existence. You talking about Anthony Bourdain when you're going to work, going home, getting fucked up, come back to work.
Yeah.
It's kind of sucks.
Yeah.
But it's it reminds me of that.
Yeah, and I'm with you.
It's the same thing.
And that's what's appealing about it. Like, for me, I haven't lived that life because basically, like I said, my nefarious, you know, experience through drug dealing or whatever, like, I don't even feel right saying that, because it's like, you know, like, I wasn't doing sort of like sketchy deals and like getting these annoying text messages and all that where they're like hitting you up saying like, where are you, like, and then, you know, saying, oh, I'll be there, you know, at 2, and then you don't show up for like 6 hours, and like, there was none of these like
fuck
sketchy,
that,
like
man.
none of these sketchy
That's-
deals. It
yeah.
was literally, I was a broker. Like, I could spot what people wanted, and I knew how to just sort of say it. And I'm short. I've always been overweight. I'm particularly fat at the moment, but like, I don't come across as threatening. Like, you know, so if I say something fucked up, like, no one thinks I'm a cop. Like, nobody thinks that I'm like anything other than just this cool dude that's offering to sell me drugs. Like, not even cool, but just like this goofy dude. So it's like, I could approach anybody and not offend them.
All right, but you notice how in the movies the boss drug dealer is always weird like that.
Well,
like, it's like,
I can tell you my supplier.
yeah, I want to hear it. Yeah.
So, all right, I want to say this carefully, but
No, don't.
no. I'll tell you like the interesting parts. I just don't want to give away the too much detail, but the right detail.
Mm-hmm.
So the guy that I eventually would get the good stuff from was a gay forensic accountant.
What did he do? Murder numbers? And then figure out that he had done it? Forensic accountant.
Yep.
So
Do
he's
you know what a
finding
forensic
crimes. So it's like The Godfather, in the movie The Godfather, where they get him on tax avoidance.
Basically.
That's his job.
Yeah, so like if the cops raided a drug dealer,
Uh-huh.
and then they found or there was a business that was being used as a front or something like that. His job was to like gather all the
Yeah.
books and information, and then
your
like
cop.
figure out where like the cash was being injected. You know, like where if you're laundering money, it's like, okay, so here's where suddenly the sums don't match, or this is where you're paying $500 for something that should only cost 50. You know, like because that's his job, was to go and follow the paper trail to find crime.
So that's why he was such a good drug dealer.
Well,
He knows how to catch 'em.
Yeah, I mean,
He
he was
knows-
basically So really, kind of, he knew what the deal was. Like, he wasn't technically law enforcement. He was just an accountant, but he specialized in forensics. So he would be, brought in on cases and everything like that to do that. But then the other side of it is like the vanilla side of that is like divorces and stuff. Like, rich guy, wife is siphoning money, and then they separate and she's going after all this, and it's like, hang on, you've emptied like 4 bank accounts. No, I haven't. Like, and then so they have to go through this whole like shit fight of being able to be like, well, I'm not paying you anything until you give me my money back. Like, so that's the boring side of it. But yeah, he was the most cliche version of a gay drug kingpin that you could possibly imagine. Like, I mean, silk robe with nothing on underneath, and like lived basically in a hotel suite like 90% of his time, because he just basically sort of move around a little bit and bounce around. Yeah, like, he was just, you could not, if you wrote this guy in a film and like casted it perfectly, people would be like, come on, this is like shitty writing. Like, could you be any more cliche on all of these things?
I love those characters. It make me think of that guy in Boogie Nights. You remember that guy in Boogie Nights where Mark Wahlberg turns up? It's the climax where that drug deal goes wrong, and the guy that you just mentioned answers the door, and then they come in, do some drugs, and he basically pulls out a shotgun. Anyway, what happened with your guy?
Oh, I mean, he was cool. It was just...
Did you get under that silk robe?
No, it was... But, I mean... he was always, like... It was always very cordial. And because, again, it was just sort of business. And, like, I wasn't a drug fiend. Like, it was just a case of... But once I started dealing with him, it did start to get a little bit too real for me, and it started getting a little bit scary.
Was he a drug fiend?
Yeah. Oh,
yeah. That's what we're picturing now.
So he basically was the organizer. Like, so he was the one that was in contact with whoever was overseas that he was dealing with, and then, had the contacts to get the stuff into the country. And then, so you want to talk about quality, right? So because it was coming in still wrapped in like the newspaper from like its origin source and everything, it hadn't... Yeah, sometimes it can still come in not as pure as you'd like it to be, but it hasn't been stepped on by like the local drug deal, like the Australian drug dealers, because like everyone's got that mate who can like always get you a gram, right? But he's like the 6th guy to have touched it after it's come in off the brick, and every motherfucker has cut it like down the line, because everyone's trying to like stretch it and get their profit, because it's so fucking expensive.
Yeah, it's like vanilla, like milk powder at the end.
Or freaking Nodos. People put Nodos in it because it was like still caffeine, and they think that it's gonna like make you still like up.
Just put some meth in it. I don't understand.
Yeah.
Once you I did meth a lot. I didn't understand. People would do cocaine after you've done meth. Like when I did cocaine, it never worked because I always say high on meth.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's kind of like drinking a beer after slamming shots. Like, but yeah, it was like, but because this guy was dealing with the brick and stuff, and really, I only kind of met him by accident because, again, I was really good at spotting people who would be keen for drugs, and I like approached him to try and sell my guys drugs, and he was like,
he laughed.
"Do you know such and such?" And I'm like, who are you? And then he's like, no, like, he's trying to, like, get me to admit, but I'm like, no, you're a cop. Like, I'm not saying nothing that I could be, like, recorded on.
Mm-hmm.
And so, quite literally, he was like,
By the way,
Okay.
we'll send this tape to the cops.
well, I haven't mentioned fucking names, and this was a long time ago.
This is J Main.
Fuck you. Nah, it's all good. It's all good. It's, but, yeah, so basically, because, one, I, like, played it super coy, and, like, and I was smart enough not to accidentally admit to anything. He was like, okay, he's not an idiot, and he seems to be good. So then he spoke to my guy, found out that I was pretty good at what I do, and then really just out of curiosity, like, wanted to talk to me, and then sort of offered me access to cut out old mate. But I took him up on a couple of times, but then it started getting sort of scary because now it's not a case of me having maybe a little bit of cash and a gram or two that I'm going to, like, drop off because my normal brokering method wasn't working. And then if I got caught, then, you know, it's enough to say personal use. But now we're talking, like, trafficking quantities.
Bricks.
Not bricks, but, like, you know.
A lot.
12 gram, you know, like...
Too much. It was
ounce.
more than you'd wave in front of the cops when you drove
like,
past.
Yeah, like, to the point, and that was when, and again, I'm still a teenager. Like, no, I was driving at this point. So, you know, I'm like in my 20s, and I also was making a little bit of money, but I wasn't making the money. So it was like, really, it was just supplementing income, and I was still living at home, and it's like, and I knew that my parents aren't stupid. How can a guy that's on like a waiter's wage, who's, you know, like not coming in, like I can only have so much cash on me and call it tips, because, you know, my parents would be like, how the fuck are you buying every new Xbox game and like every new Xbox as it comes out?
Sex work. You should have told them sex work.
And it's like, so I started getting a bit like, this is going to go bad. Like, I've seen enough movies, and like, I also knew a few people that had gotten pinched and all that sort of stuff, where because I wasn't like so deep in it that I owed people money, or, you know, I was hooked on the drug and I needed to like keep my supply up, I was able to kind of just
Dust your hands.
yeah, like, I'm out before I got
Off
too...
the cocaine.
Yeah, I mean, that was... And then...
Should have sniffed it off.
Yeah, we did. We had to test it. Like...
Why weren't you doing a lot of drugs? Were you doing a lot of drugs?
Not... There was a...
Why not?
There was a couple of benders that, like... But then the problem was that, like, it was fun in the moment, but it was always the aftermath that was just horrific for me.
You just don't stop taking
No,
the
but
drugs.
even that didn't, like...
Different.
It was... I think I've just got this thing where it's like, yeah, it wasn't an addiction thing and everything. It was just, oh my God, I feel like a juiced lemon. Like, like mentally, emotionally, physically.
It did the
And then you re-up.
Drug
But like, I
bossiness.
still just felt like a jittery juiced lemon. Like, and I was like, no, this isn't cool.
I think cocaine's not for you.
And I love cocaine. But it's just, I think I've just got a brain chemistry that really the only vice I cannot shake is cheeseburgers. Like, and iced coffee. Like, I can go on a bender of like some pretty like crazy drugs and be like, that was so much fun. And, you know, I can have a long weekend and then like still have half a gram left in a bag, and I can just like hide that somewhere and just know, I'll save that for like next occasion. And it'll just stay there, like, you know,
Just squeeze that lemon. Give it another squeeze that lemon till like the juice is coming out of your hands.
Yeah, man. You gotta like, because it's like, yeah, there's a point where you just, you gotta like, it's yin and yang. Like, there's no light without dark, right? And so if you just want to go all light, which means like all drugs all the time, without the peaks and valleys, there's no...
Yeah, that's where you see what Anthony Bourdain was talking about. you got to ride the pony all the way to the end where it falls off, and then you fucking in the pit.
You mean,
the black,
yeah, like you can't
Apocalypse
don't
Now.
romanticize rock bottom.
You do. That's the romantic part. It's not romantic. It's not romantic until you see Apocalypse, another super old movie, but like Apocalypse Now is like it's a journey into Heart of Darkness. Like drug addiction makes me think of that as well. It's the beauty. It's a romance. It's a beauty in like the fucking experience of hell. Anyway. What I hear you saying is that you didn't want to go there.
Yeah,
I get it.
exactly.
It's insane
exactly.
addicts. Insane.
Yeah.
What is it? It's about insane. It's not just addiction, but we like really romanticize that part. You know what about train spotting? My references are not going to get better. Train spotting.
Ewan McGregor.
Have you seen it?
Again, a lot of movies I know.
Oh,
yeah,
it's
like I've
old.
seen, but
It's old.
Yeah.
But you probably know that.
and you've also had a lot more time in just hours awake. So not only do you have a decade on me, you've got probably double the amount of awake hours to fill with movies.
Probably taken like 20 years off my life as well.
Yeah, but you've
But
lived
I've got
those
20
years.
years of movies in. Yeah.
I do this thing called sleep.
Well, now I sleep. Like I sleep half a day.
Yeah. But yeah, Train Spotting, another what was the movie
So
reference?
basically, heroin addicts in Ireland, and they never get to like their stories. Never like the good part. It's all the shit part. Like they're homeless. They're sleeping in abandoned buildings. They're just shooting up smack every day, like shit. But so romantic. Like just this.
I get what you're saying, but there is a bridge too far. Like,
By the way, you don't need to convince me
no,
that
no,
I'm.
no, I get that. I'm like, I get it, but you know that life's not a movie, right? Like movies aren't real.
No.
I remember one day.
I don't.
I was doing something stupid as like I was probably like 19 or 20, and I think Mum saw me. We were at like a family event, and I was like trying to flip into the pool or something, and Mum's like, "Don't do that. What if you smack your head on the side, and become a quadriplegic or something?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that would suck." And she's like, "Yeah, what would you do then?" I said, "Oh, heroin." And Mum's like, "What?" And I'm like, "If I'm ever a paraplegic or like whatever, and in that state, here's my goal: do heroin. If I wake up the next day, do more heroin.
Licenses.
That's it." And it's just like because it's like, and they're like, "Oh, what? So you gonna like throw up on yourself and fucking convulse until you die?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's only horrible for you watching. Me, it's fucking SpongeBob SquarePants world, riding rainbows.
Yeah,
like, who cares?"
That is just that's the best. That's better than an insurance policy. It's knowing that you can do heroin is not even that expensive, you guys. It gets a bad rep. You think like a drug addict spending on cheap as fuck if you're not paying rent.
It's cheap as fuck if you don't mind paying with basically your existence.
Yeah, you can always turn to sex work.
Can I though? Yeah.
Yeah, you can. Only fats.
Yeah. .com. I get it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it is. You know what I'm realizing
What?
is
Tell us.
there's an episode in The Simpsons, and this episode is probably old enough for you to remember it,
Oh, burn.
where Bart sells his soul to Milhouse.
Oh, yeah.
He writes it on his thing, and then like basically he like loses his joy, and like dogs don't like him, and like his life sucks, and everything. It's like that episode is like the perfect allegory for like drug addicts, because they've thrown away something they don't think is important for something that is the most important thing for them at the time. And it's not until it all turns to shit and it is just horrible beyond horrible that they go, "Oh, I fucked up." Like, it's just, it's, and I was like, I remember watching that as a kid and being like, this episode's boring. And then it was like, fast forward 10 years, I think that episode was like replaying, and I was like, oh, this is like really meaningful if you don't just think about it as a kid, like a cartoon for kids or anything like that. But just seeing Bart, like, write Bart's soul on a piece of paper, like, I kind of feel like that's what you do when you go, you know, you've bought heroin while jonesing for heroin. If you do heroin once just to, like, bucket list it, and then the next day you're like, fuck, that'd be fun to do again, but then you sort of just don't do it until you sort of stop thinking about it.
But a good way to do it, by the way, guys. Yeah, like this.
And that's basically my approach to things. Like, you know, there's that little half bag of Coke after a weekend or whatever, back when I was, like, you know, partaking, was the next day was really hard to, like, keep it hidden under, like, the speaker or whatever it was that I'd, like, hide it under.
How big's your speaker? Little bag of drugs.
Yeah, like, it's just got the little box, like, it just sits right over the top, like the but yeah, that next day, like, I know it's there, and it's like, it's almost like calling me, like, hey, like, you've knocked off work early, could be a real fun afternoon, and I'm like, no, it's Tuesday, like, behave yourself. But then come the next day, I might think about it once if I'm bored, but then the day after that, it's like I've basically forgotten it's there until, you know, it's like my mate's 21st or something like that.
Well, let's go get it now.
No, man. It's Thursday, isn't it? And, like, no, for real, it's like I've become very vanilla since moving to WA.
So why just stop being a cool drug dealer?
Basically, the juice wasn't worth the squeeze. Like, yeah, it
You
was.
still look like you got a bit of juice left in you.
I got plenty of juice now. Look, in all honesty,
Yeah, haven't you been
Yeah.
honest the whole time? Yeah.
the reason I stopped, and I was like, it wasn't a long time. It was like maybe a year out of my life. Was I didn't want to disappoint my pop. My grandfather was like my favorite person ever, and I either didn't want them to find out that this is what I was doing, or I didn't want him to find out that, like, I'd been arrested.
Oh,
And just the idea of, like, him having to, like, hear that's even if, like, I didn't go to prison or anything like that, or, like, charges were dropped or anything, I just didn't want him to think that, like, I was in handcuffs for non-recreational reasons. Like,
but
and
the
then-
recreational reasons you were fine
Yeah,
with. Him.
that's
You
fine.
were sending him photos
yeah,
of you
exactly.
having sex with handcuffed to a horse.
I love that's where your head went.
a monkey. Oh, I thought that's what you meant. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to embarrass you.
Oh, that's it's a bit of a Rorschach test joke, because there's two things that your brain could go to for recreational handcuffs. Sex has got to be
Now I have to. Now we
90% of people's headspace.
Now we have to know what the other one is.
Magician, escape artist,
Magician?
like, you know, trying to, like, get out of handcuffs and
Getting out of
doing, like,
handcuffs?
sleight of hand tricks and
Oh,
lock picking and card tricks and everything.
okay. Like Harry Houdini.
Yeah, sort of.
So
You got to remember, I was not a cool kid. Like,
I wasn't there. For
yeah.
you, might have been very
yeah, but,
cool.
like, look at me. Like, no, it's not like I was suddenly, you know,
No, I
like the
don't know.
popular kid.
But cool's
I was always
not
the black sheep.
cool. Kids is not about looks. I know because you told me before. But that's a shame that the drug dealing life did it. But that's inspiring that you stopped for your granddad. But who knows? You know, granddads are wild. Your granddad was probably older than me, and granddads don't tell their kids.
A little bit.
I hope I haven't spoiled it for you. You're not filling you with regrets now for giving
No.
up on your drug deal, but because you could have been like the next, Silk Robe. I could see you playing that role when you're telling me that story. The Silk Robe. You don't have to become gay.
Do you want to know what my home group teacher
Yes,
home group
please.
said? I was either going to be successful in business or, like, medicine, like a doctor of medicine, or organized crime.
There's not.
That was my
there's,
home group teacher
There's still time
from year 7.
to do both. I think she was a very smart lady.
Well, yeah, because she was basically like, anytime some, like, controversy happens in this school, you are always there. but never.
Part
Nothing
of it.
ever sticks. Like but for some reason, you always saw it. You always knew who was involved. You always
Putting handcuffs on them.
but it was more the idea of like, if something went down, like, if there was an alarm because the fume hood in the science lab, like, detector went off, it was always my class that happened in.
Uh-huh.
I was never blamed for it, but it was always the class I was in that it happened in. And she's just like, for some reason, you seem to always just be present when this shit happens.
So what's that got to do with being a doctor?
Oh, because I was good at science and like medicine and all that sort of stuff.
Oh,
like,
right.
In school, I was
So
like
it's-
kind of leaning towards that in like mid high school. So like, what do you want to be? Like, oh, doctor sounds cool.
So just smart. So you
Cavalier attitude.
turn your brains now from drugs. I bet you would have been really good at it. Now,
I was just yeah, didn't capitalize on the opportunity.
and that, well, it's not too late.
It's
capitalize.
It's fine. I am not interested.
You know, I'm on a personal crusade to end stigma for drugs and drug users. I don't use drugs. That's not to big me up, but
No,
just
really
like,
way to do that
whatever
is to get people to
relevant
take drugs.
Yeah, fuck. Like,
Nobody taking drugs hates
you-
drugs.
you can. How can we make? It's not too late. Is what I'm saying. You can Breaking Bad. I think though, like if dealing drugs becomes legal, I don't want to do it anymore. It's not cool. Why is it so cool? Because it's illegal.
But it is and it isn't. Like, there's like, I mean, you think like the show. I know this is a relatively new show. So
If you're gonna say I know Breaking Bad.
No, Mad Men.
Haven't seen it. No, I don't know that one.
But but regardless, you can like picture the guy, like any of those ones where it's like a scotch on the balcony of like your office, and like while you're doing your business deal or whatever, and it's like in the movies there's always a crystal decanter filled with scotch in the corner of every like high-end lawyer's office and shit, and it's like if I was a client and my lawyer that I'm paying like $1,000 an hour, $2,000 an hour was just like, you want a scotch at like midday? I'm like, nah, man, how about I'm paying you by the hour, fucking solve my legal issue, not pouring scotch.
drinking.
If that takes you 60 seconds, that's my money. Lawyer. I never understood. Like, it's just, it's for the show, right?
Oh, yeah.
And it's meant to look cool and
It's a-
everything, but it's like not. It's a hooker telling you she loves you, right? Like, it's not true, but it's part of the show, and you choose to believe it for that moment. But then later on,
You cry after.
you feel like, why did I believe that? Like, I'm an idiot. I'm better than this, but you're really not. Because then you watch the next episode or buy the next hooker. It never really changes. We just want to keep playing with ourselves and telling us that it's calling it love.
You spot it. What? Hang on. You play with yourself and tell
Yeah, well,
tell yourself it's love.
that's why they call it,
You gotta
self-love, right?
You gotta love yourself.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm trying to get a woman to love me now. I don't want to make this another relationship. I'm having fun we're going to stick on the drugs topic, but
Women are just another drug.
I like what?
Women are just
Love.
another drug.
Yeah, aren't they?
They
And
bring you
that's
joy, but at a price.
Yeah, I just like and I'm hooked. This is women is my new drug. Problem is, I was very good at getting drugs.
Kind of
Can't get
jonesing
women.
a little bit.
It's whole why I don't want to pay for it. Paying for drugs. You got to pay for drugs. You can't grow your own. It's like you can't you can't seduce cocaine to jump into your nose. But this is a new game. Like you got to seduce a woman. I'm chasing love now.
Are you?
Yeah.
I mean, how's that going for you?
Shit, man.
When was the last time you? When was the last time you
I should
caught
get
any
back
love?
I should get back on drugs. Drugs love me more. Drugs, that was some codependent relationship, but depend. Boy, you can depend on drugs. They always do what they say on the packet.
But do they?
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure that like from the first time you had drugs, it was a lot different from the last time you had drugs.
You got to get scientific about it.
Yeah.
You got to balance like chemicals, like sciencey. You know.
This
get
is the most
sciencey with it.
crackhead thing I've ever been like, all right, like.
But women, like, whoo, that's a different kind of chemistry.
No, it's the same chemistry. Like it's literally just fucking
Up.
the same
And then crash.
brain chemistry reward system that you're chasing. You're just trying to get it from a different source.
So that's what I think. The mistake I was making is like, what about love though? Love is like this. Like we're talking about sex and cocaine is like this, up, down. But then love.
I'm gonna go out on a limb, and I really hope I don't sound like a therapist.
I'll
here.
hold the limb while you go out on it.
It's gonna need some support. When you say you're looking for love, though, are you looking for love? Or are you looking for the movie equivalent?
The movie equivalent.
Yeah, right, yeah, cool. So
I
you're
unashamedly.
chasing a fantasy.
Yeah, chasing it.
Alright.
I have 100% chasing the fence. That's all I want. You know, I watch Seinfeld on repeat because of George Costanza. Different supermodel every week.
We've
Look
been
at
over
her,
this a few times, and it gets sadder every day.
You taller than him. Yeah, but I'm watching, like, I'm up to season 5 again. I watched it 100 times. The girls get hotter, like, fuck, as the season go on, and it just,
Yeah,
like...
because Jerry
I
was
can't-
banging them
I
and then
can't
gave
separate
them an episode.
Whoa. So I got to become Jerry.
Yeah, but like real world Jerry.
Oh,
Not,
I will do
not,
it
not
then.
not the show version.
I will become real world
Real world Joey.
Joey. Let's do it, man. I know you got a lovely girlfriend already, but like, just in case it doesn't work out, let's become really, really funny, so we don't have to go back to drug dealing, or drug using, and we just like get all these women.
No, I'm good. Like I know that we covered this on like the last episode, but you are still. It's I guess that thing is like always once an addict, always an addict. Like it is still that addict mentality of like chase the thing that I want, get it, fuck everything else after that.
Yep.
And it's like, you know, for me, I'm like, no, like, okay, cool, yeah, that's cool, but like that thing is is going to take me down to like the Badlands, like the dark area in the Lion King.
I haven't
like,
been there yet.
You know, and I'm like, I'm not chasing that thing down that road because I can see what's behind it, and
What's
it's like bad. You know, like my dad at like when I was 12 told me, you know, when I was like, I don't know, me and my mate were like looking at some chick and we're like, oh, she's hot, and my dad goes, hey guys, just remember, no matter how hot she is, there is some dude somewhere that's sick of her shit.
Oh, I want to be that guy.
Like, because you got to think, like, Angelina Jolie has, like, exes that are like, that bitch is fucking crazy. And, like, would never want to see her again in their life.
I
like,
want to be one of them.
Yeah, but have you noticed, like, they rode that roller coaster and they go never again.
Yeah, go on to the next one. You know, that's why Disneyland has a lot of rides.
But
The rides are happy too.
until you
They're
get
saying,
to...
come on.
Yep. And then
Yeah.
but then once you've been on all the rides, now you got to get into your fucking shitty car and drive home to your shitty house. And then it's like, oh, this fucking sucks compared to Disneyland. And well, I can't go back to Disneyland. I'm stuck here. And that's when you probably end up slitting your wrist or something in a hot bath, huh?
Well, very romantic. Anthony, that's something he would have done for sure. How
He
did
hung
he die?
himself in a I think a hotel room.
All right. very romantic as well. Like he knew what he was doing.
Well,
Resting.
that's yeah. I mean, like, I'm a big fan, and it was tough to think that like we share the same birthday, 25th of June.
Well,
Anthony Bourdain and I.
okay, 1 month after Christmas.
No,
Almost
6 months after Christmas.
25th. Half a year after Christmas. You are the
Yep.
Antichrist.
Mm-hmm. I
You and
cannot
Anthony-
get any I cannot get any further or closer away from Christmas. It was awesome. You know why?
To be born?
Yeah, it's mid. Wouldn't recommend.
Must have been
being born. I guess. I mean, I don't really remember it. Don't rate it too highly. But everything that comes after it's pretty shit.
Were you short and fat?
No, I was like fucked up though. I was like not breathing properly. Had like circulation issues and
damn.
all that. I was in like a little like incubator thing for like 6 weeks.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, it was fun.
Sounds cute, like a little bit cute. Like,
The photos are cute, except I'm blue.
oh,
Yeah.
shit. Get the crayons out.
Yeah, it's like I thought babies went yellow when they got jaundice. But no, I forgot what we're talking about. But yeah, like the
Drug. You
oh,
stop-
Anthony Bourdain, yeah, killing himself. Like it was just that is how that story ends, because like that's literally what you're describing is the Bourdain experience, because he was like New Yorker, never really achieved anything, was a heroin addict and a line cook in just a random restaurant, and in his 40s he wrote a book called Kitchen Confidentials, and then blew up, and now in his 40s had TV shows and was a celebrity and rode the celebrity chef craze and blew up. And then killed himself in his 60s after having the hot wife, but then who, yeah, looked great in the magazines and everything, but was clearly a nightmare to deal with, that ended up banging a 17-year-old or something. I can't remember the story. But, like, his life was objectively shit outside of the paparazzi persona of the hot wife and the nice suit and, you know, on the red carpet at some event. So, yeah, even though that he had that thing that you're describing of that, like, romantic existence, at the end of the day, he was still a heroin addict. And at one of those lows that we romanticize, got too low, and he checked out. And, like, yeah, if you want to put that, like, in a Trainspotting movie, and like I said, film it in black and white, put the score over it, and put, like, the nice, gravelly narrator, sure.
I want
if
to
you
put
want to live in the delusion, but the reality of it is that is sad as fuck, and it should be a cautionary tale, not a point of aspiration.
I want to put your story into a movie. Have you thought about writing it?
Yeah, I mean, I used to. I've actually written 2 shows, and I don't know, the guy that I wrote them with, hopefully he does something with them, but yeah.
A TV show?
Yeah, we wrote 2, but basically we wrote a show that then became, or was the concept got taken and used for a show called Rostered On. So I'm not saying I came up with it or anything like that, but me and my mate basically wrote a show that was exactly the same as Rostered On, and then we'd finished the script and were sending it to people, and then like a couple of months later we saw the teaser for the Rostered On.
Are you
Netflix
credited
show.
for this?
No, like we're not. It was just, I know like some of the people that are in it.
Should we tell people to go onto YouTube to look at it?
I think it's on Netflix.
Is it? Oh, okay. Yeah. So what's it called?
Rostered On.
Rostered On. So
I didn't write it.
Okay.
Me and my mate wrote basically that show but our own version of it.
It was the inspiration for what is now a real tip.
It was. We were talking about it with a few people, and then thought it was a cool idea. Started writing it ourselves, and then a little while, like nearly a year later, we get told that that basically this show is being made, and 3 of the people that we spoke about this idea to were in it. And so it's like, again, I'm not accusing or saying nothing, but it's like
They stole your... They stole your show. Yeah, what's the show called again? Don't give them any money.
Because I'm just looking straight down the barrel of the car. I'm not accusing anyone of anything. He is. But
Boycott that show. And I really don't know what else we can do.
I don't really want to like put it on the podcast, but I'll off camera. I'll show you some stuff that I've written.
Jay's story has
been
inspired a real TV show. So what? Okay, so you've started you jotted some stuff down.
I was back in Melbourne. I was I was legitimately working on projects and in production and all of that sort of stuff.
But you will turn more of your story into bits for your stand-up comedy shows.
Yeah,
Yes.
I love stand-up.
Will you excuse me for a sec? Because I've made a technical failure and forgot to put the time on.
And reckon we've gone for way longer than you wanted to.
I want to just...
We can wrap it up now if you want.
That's a good... It's a professional podcast.
What are we up to?
1 hour.
Okay.
Thanks, Jay, so much for coming on.
Thanks
Again.
for having me.
You guys can see Jay on Friday the 13th if you're in the sleepy little town of Bunbury where we are. Please come along. You see me there too. Friday the 13th.
Am I hosting that one or is it
at
Ross?
the Prince of Wales.
Oh, it's Ross.
No, Ross won't be there.
Okay.
Ross can't join. So
Okay.
will you host it?
Yeah, sure. I just thought he was on the poster and was...
No, I changed it to Francis.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
Also very funny comedian, Francis Ashman. See her there on Friday too.
Oh, we should mention the website. The website's up now.
Go to Comedy Connect.
.com.au.
There you have it. On that website, you can find all the show dates. Wow. When I said professional podcast, now I really feel like I'm got goosebumps a little bit now. We're doing a little ad for ourselves. I did want to squeeze an ad onto the podcast. I can't believe the first ad is for ourselves. comedyconnect.com.au. You can see all our shows where Jay Main will be there and I will be there too. Francis Ashman and Ross Gear, Nick Vine, and many others.
Yeah. Yep. No, it's all coming along, and we've got a few shows, and we've got a couple of bigger ones that we'll start promoting shortly. Yep.
Look forward to hear about that, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jay. Wow, that is so fun.
That was fun.
That feels so good.